Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most dramatic turning points in the Ukraine war, a moment that has sent shockwaves through Moscow and completely changed the conversation about Russia's military strength. Ukraine's massive revenge strike has not only crippled key pieces of Putin's arsenal, but it has also exposed vulnerabilities that the Kremlin has spent years trying to hide. What happened was not just another battlefield update, it was a strategic earthquake. For months, Ukraine had been waiting for the right moment to respond to Russia's relentless missile and drone attacks on its cities. Kyiv had endured blackout after blackout, strike after strike, and endless attempts by Moscow to break public morale. But instead of collapsing, Ukraine used the pressure to build something far more dangerous for Russia. Precision intelligence improved Western, supplied technology, and a long-range strike capability capable of reaching deep into Russian territory. When the moment came, Ukraine unleashed a coordinated assault that Russia simply did not expect. The strike centered on a cluster of Russian military sites, ammunition depots, command centers, air defense hubs, and even air bases holding some of Russia's most expensive aircraft. These weren't symbolic targets. They were carefully chosen, calculated, and designed to inflict maximum operational damage. According to early intelligence, the explosions were so powerful that satellite images showed entire sections of military infrastructure simply erased. What Ukraine destroyed in a single night represented months, and in some cases years of Russian production. One of the most significant blows was the strike on advanced Russian missile stockpiles. These weapons had played a major role in Russia's winter bombing campaign, and Moscow believed they were safely hidden. Yet Ukraine managed to pinpoint their exact location. Analysts believe this could dramatically reduce Russia's ability to conduct large-scale missile barrages in the coming months. Without these stockpiles, Putin loses one of his favorite tools, the ability to intimidate and terrorize Ukrainian civilians from a distance. Equally devastating was the reported destruction of several Su-34 and Su-35 fighter jets, two of Russia's most advanced strike aircraft. These jets are essential for Russia's air operations, and they take years to replace. Losing even a handful is a major setback. Losing them on the ground, in what should have been secure bases, is an embarrassing reminder that Russia's air defenses are overstretched, outdated, or simply not working as intended. It reinforces something analysts have been saying for months. Russia may have quantity, but Ukraine has quality and precision. Ukraine's attack also targeted the logistical backbone of Russia's front line operations. Fuel depots and supply routes were hit with remarkable accuracy. These strikes matter because logistics is where wars are truly won or lost. Without fuel, ammunition, and coordination, Russia's massive army becomes slow, fragmented, and vulnerable. And that's exactly what seems to be happening now. Reports from Russian soldiers on the ground describe confusion, shortages, and delays. Morale, already strained, is sinking even further. But the real story behind this strike is not just the destruction. It's the message. Ukraine has shown that no matter how many drones or missiles Russia fires at its cities, Kyiv now has the ability to respond and respond hard. This wasn't an emotional reaction. It was a strategic demonstration that Ukraine can take the war directly to the systems that enable Russia's aggression. It was a reminder that Russia's assumption of total military superiority is crumbling. Putin, who has repeatedly claimed that Ukraine is incapable of harming Russia in any meaningful way, now finds himself in a dangerous position. The strike has exposed cracks not only in his military infrastructure, but also in the narrative he sells to the Russian public. For a leader who relies heavily on the appearance of strength, these kinds of military embarrassments are politically corrosive. They raise questions that the Kremlin desperately wants to silence. How did Ukraine strike so deep? Why weren't defenses ready? And if Russia can't defend its own territory, what does that say about its future in this war? Another critical consequence of the strike is how it energizes Ukraine's Western partners. Every time Ukraine proves it can use advanced technology effectively, support for additional weapons grows. This attack shows not only capability, but also responsibility. The targets were military, strategic, and legitimate. It reinforces Ukraine's argument that long-range systems are essential, not optional, for ending the war. Early signals from several NATO capitals suggest that more support may be on the way. Meanwhile, Russian military bloggers, usually loyal but often brutally honest, have described the strike as one of the most humiliating blows of the entire conflict. Their posts speak of panic, mismanagement, and the inability of Russia's commanders to adapt to Ukraine's evolving tactics. When pro-Kremlin voices start admitting that the situation is collapsing, it's a clear sign that something has gone very wrong behind the scenes. Ukraine's revenge strike also carries a psychological impact. For months, civilians in Ukraine have lived under constant fear of air alerts. This operation flips that dynamic. Now it is Russians in certain regions who are hearing explosions, seeing fires, and questioning the safety of their military infrastructure. War is not only about territory, it's about who controls the narrative and who feels secure. This strike shifts that balance in Ukraine's favor. Despite all this, the war is far from over. Russia still has vast resources, manpower, and the ability to escalate. Ukraine's strike is a major success, but it doesn't magically end the conflict. What it does do is disrupt Russia's plans, delay its offensives, and force the Kremlin to divert resources to defense instead of attack. That change in momentum could shape the next phases of the war in significant ways. As we look ahead, the biggest question is how Putin will respond. Retaliation is almost certain, but the Kremlin now knows that Ukraine is watching, waiting, and capable of hitting back harder than ever. This creates a new level of strategic uncertainty, one that Russia has not had to deal with since the early days of the war. It forces Moscow to rethink its assumptions and potentially reconsider how long it can sustain its current military strategy. Ukraine's massive revenge strike is more than a tactical victory. It is a declaration of resilience, intelligence, and strength. It shows that despite losses, despite attacks, despite seemingly impossible odds, Ukraine is not only surviving, it is pushing back with precision and purpose. And for the first time in a long time, Russia is on the defensive in ways it never expected. This moment will be remembered as a turning point, not just because of what Ukraine destroyed, but because of what it proved. That Putin's arsenal is not untouchable, that Russia's war machine can be crippled, and that Ukraine has both the capability and the determination to take the fight directly to the heart of the enemy's military power. The world is now watching what comes next. But one thing is already clear: the balance of fear has shifted.